Hello and welcome to Food Tech 101.
Things we know.
Now, today is the big challenge between aquafaba and eggs. Now, in one of my previous videos, I showed you how to make aquafaba being the water from cooked beans, in particular chickpeas. So I've got some chickpea water here, and I've got an egg here, and I'm going to see if I can make some meringues from the aquafaba that compare with the meringues from the egg, because one of the functions that we're looking to see if aquafaba can compete with is its ability to aerate a mixture. That's add air into it to make it go fluffy and white like you get with a nice meringue. So let's see. So first things first, to get as a base, I'm going to crack the one egg white into a bowl, whisk it up, add 50 grams of icing sugar, put it on a tray, and we'll see what that fluff looks like to kind of give us a base for our meringues. Then I'm going to do the same with the aquafaba to see if it even works. Can I whisk this cooked bean juice into a white fluffy meringue? We shall see. Alright, so let's get started. To make meringues is really quite straightforward. First of all, you need a glass bowl in particular, or a metal bowl over a plastic bowl, because with a plastic bowl, they say, and it's kind of proven true, that because it's plastic, it's sort of, when you whisk it, it has all these little small grooves, little abrasions on it, which you can't necessarily see with the eye, that can catch little traces of fat. And if you get any traces of fat whilst making meringue, the meringues aren't going to fluff out nice and white. So we need a nice smooth glass bowl. I've got to make sure I don't get any of the yolk in this. And then all I'm going to do is just toss it from side to side. And next, just going to whisk it. Now whisking should take about 5 minutes, so I'll start it off, then we'll get back to it later. So here we go. Now, it's taking me a bit quicker than I thought. I've been going for about 2 or 3 minutes. And already we have pretty stiff peaks. You can see, it's just clinging to the whisk. So at this point, I'm going to slowly integrate the icing sugar. So as well as adding sweetness, the sugar we add helps stabilize the meringue mixture. So that in particular, when it stands or when it starts to bake, it doesn't just collapse. That's part of the function of the sugar, to stabilize. So I'm going to add in my sugar bit by bit. Now here we have our meringues. You can see a beautiful, creamy mixture. Eggs do a great job. Into that, just for a bit of flavouring, I'm going to add just a little touch of vanilla essence. Now the vanilla essence obviously adds a little bit of flavour, but it also adds to the stabilisation as well. So a little bit of that. And we're done. Now it's important when we're making meringues in particular that we don't overbeat, because if you overbeat the mixture, the proteins constrict too much and it's to actually break apart. So there's a critical point. So this one's nice and thick. It hangs off the tip of our whisker just about right. Yeah. Okay, so I've labelled our tray so we know which is which, the difference between the aquafaba and the egg. The label's on the egg. Now I'm just going to lay them out. Space them out nice and neatly. It's quite surprising just how much one egg white can increase in size. What's happening when we're whisking it is that we're denaturing the egg white proteins. So protein actually starts off as quite a large molecule, but it's all combined and compressed all together. So it's all combined and compressed. When we whisk it, those chemical bonds that hold the protein together, they break apart, which means this quite large protein, which happens to be just bound together, when the chemical bonds break, it comes apart, and that's where it enlarges. That's why we can get an egg white which starts off that size and ends up this size because that's how this particular protein denatures when it's being whisked. Okay, so first part's done. We've used our egg whites and we've got some foam, but no surprise there, it works because we know it does. Now, here's where we go to our bean juice. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit skeptical. I've scoured the internet and I've seen evidence that it's worked for other people, but will it work here? I don't know. Now, straight away, it's got a strong smell. It smells a bit like meat, actually, believe it or not. Nevertheless, I'll give it a whisk, and even if it turns into anything that resembles the foam, I'll be quite impressed. If it goes all the way and competes in terms of look and texture with the foam from egg white, I'll be flabbergasted. But let's see. I'll be the son of a actually rather nice woman, but this is actually getting there. We're getting some pretty decent looking foam, and it's kind of holding its peaks. I think we're getting there. It's taken twice as long, but it does appear that this thing's turning into a foam, not unlike the eggs. I'm going to whisk a little bit longer and see if we get right there, and then when we're at that same point, I'll add the sugar and see what happens. But this is, I mean, so far, I mean, dude, that's foam right there. That ain't bad. And this is bean juice. Let's go a bit longer. Okay, we've got what looks to me like pretty stiff peaks. Now I don't want to push my luck. I don't know if I beat this anymore, if it'll suddenly start going runny. So I'm going to quit while I'm ahead here. This looks pretty good to me. So at this point, I'm going to mix in my 50 grams of icing sugar, put it on a tray, compare the two, bang it in the oven, and we'll see what they actually come out like once they're baked. So I'm going to start adding the flour, the icing sugar now. Incredible. It's a little bit thinner than the eggs. I'm not quite sure if that's because I've not beaten it enough, but even so, had you told me beforehand that you could get this consistency from bean juice, I would have slapped you in your face and said, well, you're lying basically. But this looks, if I wasn't told, I would have thought this is just basic egg white mixed in. I wouldn't have known it was different. So I'm going to whisk in the vanilla, put it on a tray, and then we'll compare them before they go in the oven. So here we are. I am genuinely flabbergasted that we've even got to a point whereby we've got something that resembles our egg whites. Now, it must be said, these aren't quite as firm. Now, that could be just down to a couple of things. One, it's possible I haven't whisked it enough. Two, for this particular aquafaba, I used the juice I used the water straight out of a tin of split peas. Now, from what I've read, in order to make it stronger, what you can do is reduce that water down, so it takes out some of the water, so it gets thicker, and that's meant to work better. So I'm going to make an assumption that had I reduced the water down to make our original aquafaba a little bit thicker, then I'm pretty confident that I would have got very, very comparable results to the egg, because I mean, this is water straight out of the can, and already this is very, very comparable with the egg white. And here we have it. We have our two batches of meringues. So first up, it does work. Bean juice can be whipped into meringues. These ones here are aquafaba, and these ones here are egg. Now, look a little bit different, but that kind of variance is fair enough. So just to be clear, to make this particular dish, I used the water straight from a can of chickpeas. Had I taken that water and reduced it down a little bit, evaporate some of the water out of it, when you do that, it thickens up, becomes a bit more like egg white. I have no doubt that it would whip up exactly the same. because it'd be a little bit thicker. And these have come out really light. They don't have quite the same body, but I think had I reduced it down, there's no doubt in my mind that it would have given the same product. So one, experiment-wise, we know it does work. We know that the bean juice, the aquafaba, it can be whipped into make meringue. So now we know that. That opens up our mind in terms of we can make a whole bunch of things. I think one of the next videos I'm going to make then is to make one of my favourite desserts, but do a vegan version of a lemon meringue pie. So I'm going to use the same principle using aquafaba and then make a lemon meringue pie, which is one of my favourite desserts of all time. So I'm going to make a vegan lemon meringue pie. So first of all, I'll break one open. The consistency of the egg. Fairly even consistency throughout, to be fair. A little bit denser, a little bit harder. Now depending on how you cook them, if you just cook them for 20-30 minutes till they go slightly brown, take them out. They'll be crispy on the outside and chewy on the inside. Some people say that if you turn the oven off and leave the oven to dry out, then they'll be crispy all the way through. It just depends on how you like your particular meringues. But these are all the way through. A little bit denser, still quite light, but a little bit denser than the other ones. And you can see it's very even spacing in between, and a little bit chewy in the middle as well. Yeah, these ones have a little bit of an aftertaste, which is a bit weird, but there you go. Now, for our aquafaba. You can hear how light this is. It feels like super light styrofoam or polystyrene. Really, really light. Much lighter than the egg ones. Break them open. So inside now, we can see there's massive air pockets. Now, that may not necessarily be the best, depending on what you're making, but it does make it very, very light. I think if we reduce the aquafaba liquid down itself a little bit more, you get I'm quite convinced you get a more substantial meringue, but you can see the air pockets inside, which makes it very, very light. It just tastes nicer. It generally tastes nicer. Even before you add anything else to it. Purely objectively, these ones I think have a more consistent and more even consistency throughout. These ones, as you can see, have quite large air bubbles inside, but I think ultimately they can be made to be about the same consistency. But taste-wise, considering they're all got fundamentally the same amount of sugar and vanilla essence in, these ones actually have a much, much nicer taste, which is bizarre. So there we have it in our first round of aquafaba versus eggs. I've got to say overall, that's got to be a victory to the aquafaba. The egg whites had a more even consistency. Fair enough, I give a point for that. The aquafaba was actually lighter, so that kind of gains a point back there. But then ultimately, when you tasted them, the aquafaba actually tastes nicer. And when you consider the fact that the aquafaba is made from the waste product of the beans, the part of the beans you'd normally throw away, that just kind of puts it over the edge for me. So aquafaba versus eggs in the first test, making a meringues, aeration, its ability to trap air inside. 1-0 aquafaba. So once again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Food Tech 101 is now on Facebook, but also on Instagram. So don't forget to check us out there as well. The Food Tech 101 email is admin@foodtech101.co.uk. So if you have any business emails or any business ideas or any collaborations that you have in mind, then just drop us a line and we can chat via email. So once again, thanks for watching. My name is Mr. Liebert. But you can call me Sir.
Of things we know.